I want to talk about Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, this team is 4-5. They have lost their last 5 out of 6 games. They don't look like they're heading into the right direction underneath this brand new coaching staff with Mike Macdonald and Ryan Grubb being the brand new offensive coordinator. They have a lot of problems defensively and offensively as well. Their passing defense is middle of the road. Tariq Woolen has missed some time this season, but since he's been on the field, he hasn't been the same cornerback that he once was underneath Pete Carroll. And I will say this, Devin Witherspoon this season has become the best player in their secondary with Julian Love at the safety position. Tariq Woolen has to play better moving forward. He is a good cornerback still, but at the same time, you're not seeing the same player his rookie season and last season either. He's coming away with some interceptions, yes, but there's a lot of costly penalties, just like how they were against the Los Angeles Rams. When I look at this front seven, there's a huge problem here. Now, a lot of this is not on Mike Macdonald because this is his first year as a head coach. He did a terrific job with the Baltimore Ravens and their defense. When I look at this front seven of the Seattle Seahawks, they're in a bad situation here. They can't stop the run. They have not been able to stop the run in the last 4 to 5 years. Really, since the Legion of Boom started to leave piece by piece, their rushing defense has not been the same. And you have certain players with the Seahawks, they don't really fit the system that Mike Macdonald wants to run. When you look at this defense, you have Draymond Jones, who was a very good player last season for the Seattle Seahawks. They gave him a contract extension. I look at Draymond Jones now. His snap count has been almost cut in half. The last game against the Rams and the week before by the Buffalo Bills, because he doesn't fit the defensive system that Mike Macdonald wants to run. Instead, you have a rookie in Derek Hall who is taking more snaps than him. And Derek Hall seems like he's going to be a very good pass rusher in the future. He has 5 sacks on the season, and he's been very disruptive in terms of putting a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback. You have Leonard Williams as well. Leonard Williams, you know what he is in this stage of his career. He's a guy that's going to go back there and just be purely a run stopper. He can get some sacks here and there, but he will never go out there at this stage of his career and get you 10 plus sacks in the season. And that's okay. He plays a good role with the Seahawks in terms of being a big body and eating up double teams. You also have Jonathan Hankins as well, who's a solid defensive tackle. You can't find a better defensive tackle than him long term. You have Jaron Reed as well, who I really like a lot. But these players, they're not good enough to go out there and get the Seattle Seahawks over the hump, especially in this division. And being 4-5, you look at the situation and you may say, hey, the sky isn't falling. But this has been the same pattern with the Seahawks over the last few years since they traded Russell Wilson. And that first year with Geno Smith, they made the NFL playoffs. It was the best comeback story in the NFL. You had this quarterback that was a second-round pick with the New York Jets. He became a journeyman. He comes over to the Seattle Seahawks. They trade Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos because he wanted to be the star of the show. And Geno Smith comes in and goes out there and exceeds everyone's expectations. And they did have a short playoff run, but that's okay. But year after year, they've had offensive line problems. I look at the general manager and John Schneider. I don't think that he is a terrible general manager because he's drafted guys like DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin, all those key guys. Right, he's went out there, Jermaine Kearse, he's picked those guys up. He has an eye for talent at the skill position. Unfortunately, with the offensive line, they've been terrible. Even when Russell Wilson was here with the Seahawks, the offensive line was still a major issue. That's why you saw all the clips of him and basically the fan base saying, let Russell Wilson cook, because he was going out there and making elite level throws, rolling outside the pocket. Part of the reason why he had to do so was because of how bad the offensive line has been. And this offensive line is a major issue. Besides Charles Cross, you don't have a consistent offensive lineman. The guard position is some of the worst play in the NFL. You drafted Christian Haynes in the 3rd round, but he's yet to play a single snap this season. Put him on the field, but he's been a healthy scratch since week 4, it seems like. I look at the right tackle position. Big Abraham Lucas is a phenomenal tackle when he's able to play and stay healthy. But this is the 2nd year in a row he's still dealing with that knee injury that he suffered last year. And part of the reason why the Seattle Seahawks missed the playoffs last year, they lost to the Los Angeles Rams, not once, but twice. And I remember early in the season, Charles Cross goes down, so does Abraham Lucas. Now, not every single team in the NFL is going to have the luxury of having very good backup offensive linemen. Rarely any team does. But especially the Seahawks, they have no versatility on this offensive line. Abraham Lucas is a good player, but they should have went out there in the NFL draft and basically brought in a brand new lineman behind him. Went into free agency and got a guy that could come in and be an insurance policy, but they didn't do that. It was so bad last season, they had to call in Jason Peters. They called in Jason Peters on their practice squad this season. You have a guy out there in Michael Jarrell to go out there and he's going to be your starting right tackle. He's not a good player. He's a backup for a reason. George Fant has dealt with injuries this season. A lot of it is injury based, yes, but a lot of it is dumb play calling and the simple fact this offensive line cannot run block. They can't pass protect. Geno Smith is tied for being the third most pressured and third most sacked quarterback in the NFL with Caleb Williams. He's been sacked 28 times. He has little to no time inside the pocket. He got sacked 7 times against the Los Angeles Rams. He got sacked 7 times against the New York Giants. That's the game the Giants went down there. They blocked the field goal and they won that game. They're not buttoned up on special teams. The offensive line is terrible. And Ryan Grubb is a big game hunter. That can work out in college. This is his first season in the NFL as an offensive play caller. And I hate the offensive plays. They don't lean on the run game enough. And I understand the offensive line, they cannot go out there and run block, but at least make the opposing team respect your run game. I saw the Los Angeles Rams bring in an extra defensive back on the field, and they were not blitzing in the game either. They're daring them to pass the football without DK Metcalf, and he made little to no adjustments in that matchup. And the same against the Buffalo Bills as well. Geno Smith is averaging 40 plus pass attempts in almost every single game this season. That's how you're going to get beat. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Geno Smith. He leads the league in passing yards. That's fine and all. But usually when quarterbacks do that, they miss the NFL playoffs. I'm not saying that Geno Smith is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, because in my opinion, he's not. But he's good enough to help this team get into the right direction. And he's good enough to stick around for the next 3 to 4 years. Geno Smith has proven this in the past. Even last season, he looked good. Part of the reason why they cannot beat teams over 500 is because the offensive line was terrible. And he does have his own shortcomings. I will admit that. But Geno Smith is not the reason why this offense looks terrible. They can't run the football. They can't protect him up front. And he has become a turnover machine. Yes, I will admit that. 11 passing touchdowns to 10 interceptions, those are not good numbers. But what do you expect for him to do when he doesn't have a run game? And his top wide receiver's been out the last 2 weeks dealing with a knee injury. Jackson Smith-Njigba looks like a star. Tyler Lockett is still the same veteran wide receiver. It seems like that man can play forever. He's a very good, reliable target. But when you don't have a consistent rushing attack with Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet, you're not going to win many football games moving forward. This is a team that went out there many weeks ago and they struggled to beat the New England Patriots, one of the worst teams in the NFL. And the reason why they won that game was because of Geno Smith. They did not even attempt to run the football much in that game either. Geno Smith was 33 of 44 for 327 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 0 interceptions, and he got sacked 3 times in that game as well. When you look at the game against the Detroit Lions, that tells you who the Seattle Seahawks are. They can go out there and they can score with the best of them, but their defense is not equipped to go out there and give them a couple of stops and come away with takeaways. And eventually their offense will stall out due to bad play calling and due to bad offensive line play. Why do I bring up the Detroit Lions game? They went out there against the Detroit Lions, and it was a very good football game for 3 straight quarters. They lost this game 42-29. Geno Smith was 38 of 56, 395 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception, got sacked 3 times. You're not going to beat elite level competition. And unfortunately, I do not believe that this team will make the NFL playoffs this season either. It's a hard battle for them because they have a tall task in front of them. They have to face the San Francisco 49ers yet again, a team that the Seattle Seahawks have not been able to beat in many years. They went against them on a Thursday night a couple weeks ago. They lost that game. You take away the Laviska Shenault kick return, that game is all out of whack, is all out of hand. Due to bad play calling and offensive line injuries, again, even if their offensive line was fully healthy with Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross, the interior is so bad where Geno Smith does not have time to step up inside the pocket. Then you face the Arizona Cardinals. You just lost to the Los Angeles Rams in overtime, 26-20. I don't think they're good enough this season. I do believe the Seattle Seahawks have put Geno Smith into a situation to where he is going to fail. And if you are one of the fans that are saying, hey, put in Sam Howell, they can put in Sam Howell. They may not win another game this season if they do that, because Sam Howell was in a similar situation last year with the Washington Commanders. No run game, bad offensive line play, and look at what he did. He led the league in interceptions and complete turnovers as well. And I do believe in the future he can be their quarterback, especially with how this team is equipped. If they want to keep Ryan Grubb around long term, it's going to be an air raid system. He just doesn't have the Russian play calling in him. I just don't see it. He didn't have it in college either. He was a man that wanted to throw the football deep down the field all over the place. And it's not like the Mike Leach system. Many years ago, Mike Leach would have you go out there crossing routes, underneath, screen passes, quick tempo. The Seahawks don't have that. It's a bunch of deep shots down the field, it's a bunch of post routes, and you have a bunch of offensive linemen that can't block. You have a bunch of backups on this offensive line posing as starters. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. I will give Michael Jarrell a lot of credit for trying to come in and play at the right tackle position, even though he is a backup, but he's terrible. He's easily one of the worst offensive linemen that you can have in the NFL on a starting basis. Give Christian Haynes the opportunity to go out there and play at the right guard position. And I'm not saying fire John Schneider, but he deserves a lot of this blame. And Mike McDonald, give him time, because I do believe that he will fix his defense and he will put them into the best situation possible. And I also believe this as well. They have to go out there and get some better linebackers to fit the system. You look at what Mike McDonald had with the Baltimore Ravens. He had Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. Now, Patrick Queen is a solid linebacker at best, but Roquan Smith is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. No disrespect to what the Seattle Seahawks have at the linebacker position, because Terrell Dodson is a very good linebacker. I do believe that, but he's not a top-tier linebacker to have. That's why they went out there and they made a trade to get Ernest Jones. And Ernest Jones, he's okay. He went out there with the Los Angeles Rams, very good tackler, went to the Tennessee Titans, they traded him away. Could not find a home there. Now he's with the Seattle Seahawks. He can't find a place to stick in. Maybe Coach McDonald can go out there and use him to the best of his ability. But right now they're having a tough time figuring things out. I think long term the Seahawks will be in a better situation, but this season right now you can call it a wash. They're going to basically be in the same situation they were in last year. Hurt offensive line, lack of a run game, can't stop the run. It's the same team with just different faces and a different head coach and a different offensive coordinator. And I get that Shane Waldron had a lot of flaws last season. At least he attempted to run the football at times with Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet. Look at what they did against the Denver Broncos. They ran the football. They used Kenneth Walker III in the pass game. They won that game. And they have deviated away from that. But let me know in the comment section below, am I overreacting to the Seattle Seahawks in their situation? Like I mentioned before, they're on a bye week. Hopefully they can figure some things out over this week. Next week, DK Metcalf should be able to play. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.